Imagine an empire so feared that just mentioning it sent shivers down your spine. An empire so brutal that its reputation for evil has echoed through the centuries. But what if everything you've heard about Assyria is a complete lie? Get ready to question everything you thought you knew about this ancient powerhouse, because the truth about Assyria is far more complex and, frankly, way more shocking than the myths we've been told. Hey, what's up? I'm Tom from the Time to History channel, where we dig up the stories that the world tried to simplify. And today, we're going to unravel the dark secrets of Assyria, separating fact from fiction. But before we do, if you're all about debunking myths and discovering history as it really happened, you know the drill. Hit that like button and subscribe. Stick around till the end, because what I'm about to drop on you will challenge everything you thought you knew about good and evil in ancient times. Assyria rose as one of the first major players in the ancient world, dominating a strategic chunk of the Middle East. For over 1,000 years, this empire called the shots in the region's politics, economics, and even culture. Located in what's now northern Iraq and parts of southern Turkey and Syria, Assyria stood out not just for its war machine, but also for its sophisticated administration and remarkable achievements in engineering and the arts. Its rulers, the Assyrian kings, implemented a centralized, innovative form of government, where mobilizing the army and managing cities were planned down to the last detail. These same kings launched risky military campaigns, expanding the empire's borders and creating a legacy that still echoes today in historical documents and priceless monuments. But despite all its architectural and administrative achievements, the image of Assyria has been distorted and painted in dark shades over the centuries. Old accounts, often from enemies or biased sources, describe its rulers as true monsters, merciless and bloodthirsty, who spared no one to maintain power. Historical texts passed down to us, written by Babylonians, Egyptians, and even the Hebrews, paint a picture of extreme cruelty. We're talking about impalement, beheadings, mass deportations, and gruesome executions designed to terrorize not only direct enemies, but also the subjugated population. But it's important to ask, who are the authors of these accounts? Mostly, it's the same adversaries who wanted to justify their own revolts and conflicts against a menacing empire. For centuries, Assyria's image was molded by the bias of those who opposed it politically. These records emphasize the most shocking aspects and barbarities committed in the name of power, without, however, considering the historical context of the time, where such methods, although brutal, were pretty common practice in various cultures of the Near East. So, the big question we need to ask is the wickedness attributed to Assyria the result of a fair judgment or a strategic amplification by its enemies? To find answers, we need to look at the archaeological evidence and recent discoveries that reveal a much more balanced picture. In recent decades, archaeology has made a huge leap in re-evaluating Assyrian history. Excavations at sites like Nimrud, Nineveh, and Horsabad have revealed not only the ruins of fortresses and palaces, but also a vast cultural collection attesting to the empire's sophisticated organization. In their palaces, the Assyrian kings commissioned masterpieces, ranging from detailed reliefs to murals that recorded scenes of daily life, religious ceremonies, and, also military campaigns, but always within an artistic context that exalted the greatness of the state and its connection to the gods. Findings point to the existence of a highly organized administration. Cuneiform documents found in ancient libraries show a developed bureaucratic system, something that rivaled the most advanced contemporary civilizations. These records reveal everything from trade transactions to peace treaties, pointing to a multifaceted society that also excelled in medicine, astronomy, and engineering. So, while it cannot be denied that violence occurred, the overall picture is far more complex than the simple image of ruthless tyrants. The Assyrians were equally builders and innovators, and their contributions to the development of civilization are engraved not only in texts, but also in the very land they helped shape. It's essential to understand that violence, although extreme, wasn't unique to Assyria. In an era where borders were constantly disputed and battles were an integral part of politics, many empires resorted to brutality to consolidate power. War was, in many cases, a legitimate tool of the state, a way to assert sovereignty and create a sense of unity among subjects. Therefore, when analyzing Assyrian methods, we must compare them to those of their contemporaries. Babylonians, Egyptians, and even certain Mediterranean civilizations also used intimidation and terror strategies. What set Assyria apart wasn't the existence of violence, but how that violence was recorded and often exaggerated by those who came to oppose it. In many later artistic and literary representations, this violence became a symbol, an icon of barbarism. But at the same time, the same historical sources that recorded such acts also denounced the greatness and cultural advances of the empire, creating a duality that persists to this day. Besides the violence, Assyria shines for its achievements in unexpected areas. Some of the greatest advances in architecture, technology, and administrative organization of antiquity have Assyrian roots. The kings invested heavily in building infrastructure, aqueducts, roads, and irrigation systems that allowed intensive cultivation of vast areas of agricultural land, even in arid conditions. In the palaces, art flourished. The reliefs carved in stone weren't simply representations of battles. They told stories of glory, religious rituals, and a social order that valued both strength and wisdom. Researchers have found that many of these panels narrated episodes of peace and prosperity, counterbalancing accusations of excessive brutality. Assyrian administration also stood out. Cuneiform documents found in ancient libraries reveal a system of accounting and governance so advanced that it served as a model for future civilizations. This administrative efficiency not only facilitated the maintenance of the empire, but also allowed the creation of one of the first examples of a calendar and historical event recording. Many of the accounts we know today were written by peoples who experienced intense conflicts with Assyria. These records, imbued with a sense of revenge or political propaganda, exaggerated the violence and demonized Assyrian rulers. When we examine these sources critically, we realize how propaganda can distort historical perception. What was painted as the Empire of Terror often omits the cultural and administrative achievements that were, in fact, fundamental to the region's development. Therefore, debunking these myths is not just an effort to rehabilitate the image of Assyria. It is also an invitation to better understand how history can be manipulated and retold according to the interests of the victors. The truth, as always, is much more nuanced and deserves to be analyzed carefully. It's important to question how we define good and evil. In the contemporary view, we associate morality with modern standards and values, but these concepts have evolved dramatically over the millennia. In antiquity, and especially in contexts such as Assyria, the notion of morality was intrinsically linked to the survival of the empire, the protection of the territory, and the established social hierarchy. What we may judge as brutality today was often seen as a necessary means to maintain order, ensure the loyalty of subjects, and even honor sacred traditions back then. So, when analyzing the actions of the Assyrians, it is crucial to adopt a contextual perspective. It's not about absolutes, but about an understanding that allows us to recognize the complexity of human motivations. Between violence and innovation, between terror and efficient administration, lies the true face of this multifaceted empire. The legacy of Assyria goes far beyond the fame of cruelty. Its contributions to writing, administration, and even literature shaped the history not only of the Middle East, but of the entire world. Today, many museums house pieces that attest to the artistic magnificence of the Assyrians, from grand reliefs that describe battles to inscriptions that narrate peace treaties and trade agreements. This cultural legacy shows that Assyria deserves to be remembered not only for its dark aspects, but also for the grand achievements that influenced later civilizations. Modern studies point to a society that, although warlike, also valued law, order, and culture. By revisiting these traces, we understand that, like every civilization, it had light and shadow, progress and setbacks, virtues and vices. Within the Assyrian Empire, the political structure was elaborate and multifaceted. The kings didn't act alone. They relied on a complex system of councils, bureaucrats, and generals who helped manage a vast and diverse territory. The military campaigns, although brutal, were often accompanied by strategies for integration and cultural assimilation. Conquered peoples were sometimes incorporated into the empire, allowing an exchange that resulted in technological and artistic advancements. This policy of inclusion, while not exempt from violence, also helped cement Assyria's legacy as a bridge between different cultures, contributing to the diversity that characterized the region. So, when we question the image of the evil empire, we see that it was also the stage for encounters and transformations that advanced civilization, challenging the boundaries between conqueror and conquered. So, was Assyria really evil? The answer cannot be reduced to a simple judgment of good or evil. What we learn by unraveling these myths is that history is made up of multiple layers, a tapestry of conquests and crises, adopting and adapting practices that today seem shocking to us, but in their time had meaning and context. The Assyrians were, without a doubt, a warlike people, but they were also innovators, administrators, and great builders of a cultural legacy that endures to this day. By demystifying the cruel reputation that has been attributed to them, we recognize that historical truth is constantly under construction, and that it is up to us, as scholars and history enthusiasts, to seek to understand the nuances and paradoxes that shape the human experience. Therefore, instead of fixating on simplistic labels, we must learn to look at the complexity that existed, and still exists, in the journey of all peoples. Only then will we be able to construct a fairer and more accurate narrative, capable of illuminating the paths of the past, and consequently inspiring a future of understanding and mutual respect. And you, what do you think? Were the myths surrounding Assyria merely a tool of enemy propaganda, or are there grounds for considering it an empire of extreme violence? Leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to share this video with anyone who also loves diving deep into history, questioning the official version. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue debunking the myths that have been imposed on us by history, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to not miss any of our upcoming revelations. But wait, have we uncovered all the secrets of Assyria? Or are there still truths hidden in the lines of time, waiting to be revealed? Stay tuned, because what's coming next could change everything you thought you knew about the empires of antiquity. History is a battleground of narratives and interpretations. Assyria, like so many other empires, was a victim and, at the same time, a protagonist in a war of words that persists to this day. Our mission here at Time to History is precisely this: to bring to light the complexity of the past so that we can, together, see beyond the labels and understand the true essence of the peoples who shaped the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey so far. See you in the next video, where we will continue to explore the mysteries and contradictions of our history.